while we think in the last video, I talked about how everything transcends or moves up a level each time. That is very interesting when you look at the creation of life. The creation of life does not start from a single point or a single being. It alternates. This is why alternating energy came in, alternating electricity. Once you realize that you've got the alternating concept versus the direct current, you'll start realizing that there's different theories, and necessary to where one's born in life, time that one's born, the age that one's born in, different stories get told. But the origin is not from a single point, and it's not a static single, let's call it, being that designed it. It swaps. For a time it will be one dimension, another time it'll be another dimension. So it swaps the whole time. It's not static. It's not from one being. Ley lines, they're energy. They're not, it's a part of electricity, but it's not the electricity that we know. It goes deeper than that. And that's also a subject that I don't know how much space we'll have. That's a subject that I will dig into and show you some other aspects. Let me try and explain it from this side. When you dream, you've got visions that don't belong in this world. It's a real world, but yet it's imaginary world. Now, those ley lines are the same like that. They energy fields that somebody has actually put in who understands energy, like gravity. Who can explain gravity? It's part of the electromagnetic field. It's not a visible thing, because we're looking for visible things. It's not that. It's an energy field. It's as I said, electromagnetic. It has a lot to do, and it comes from the sun. It has a lot to do with that sun that puts out certain magnetism, certain electromagnetic fields. Yeah, let's leave it like that for now. When they talk of timekeepers, it goes beyond timekeepers. It's also dimensional, interdimensional travel. It takes us into other places. So there's two ways of working with those ley lines and the nodes. The nodes will actually help you physically and sometimes only mentally travel to another dimension. Sometimes you'll only get information. It depends on the type of ley line. Different points have got different strengths. They do different things. No, a ley line, it has different functions. Remember, again, we've got different types of beings, different types of energy levels of I'm going to call it humans, but I don't want to limit it to humans. We've got different beings that require different things. Trees, you'll notice, also follow. When you'll see where a forest ends, it usually will follow or end on a ley line. You'll notice they follow. It's not that the roads have been made and the trees just end there. Have a look in nature. They will run with lines and nobody questions it. Grasses, why is there a parting in grasses, for example? These are ley lines. They run the entire grid. Have you seen the picture of the blue earth with the grid lines running vertical and horizontal? That's already highlighting for us. There are these grids. And then there was another movie done by Spirit Science, and they show that each dimension has a different grid format. So we don't have one grid of ley lines. We've got different grids. We've got them where they lay it upon each other. Agartha, as I said in the last video, is our source. So they're going to take you into that realm first of all. But then there are realms beyond that. And they will take you, depending which ones you use, you will go into further, deeper dimensions. So you've got, when you talk of the circles, as it says, it's a vortice. The pyramids are also there. They had other structures around them, but within you had a vortice that was formed. So sometimes you'll just see the plain vortice on the outside or the start of the vortice. On other times it's hidden within, and I will show pictures of those. Obviously, there's 7 basic things that can activate these nodes. You don't need only one, and this is why you'll notice that they do it obviously with certain times that align with the stars. Those are very important. So timing is very important, because timing will actually align you with another dimension. We assume time only runs on this dimension. Time runs on another dimension as well. And you've got to align yourself up so that, like a Stargate, you're going to have both sides open at the same time. It's not a case of gaining power. We assume that everything, when we look at these things, we assume it's about power. It's not always about power. The point of life is about progress. So it's about, on different levels, different dimensions, it's about progress to move everything up. We assume we are the only being or the only level or the only dimension that needs to grow. No, every dimension grows right through all the way down. Every dimension is growing. No one is static. They're all progressing. And that's the whole point. There is no, well, it's just for one. No, it's for everybody. And this is why we think, oh, well, we're going to go to heaven and we're just going to sit in bliss forever and do nothing. That's delusional. I don't believe in one particular philosophy. You need to combine them all. And I will show as well how by combining them all, you get a much fuller picture. So you don't want to stick with one. Certainly build your foundation through one philosophy, but then start realizing the value of employing others. And that's with all religions. Spiritualist. But Andy, a lot of the humans, a lot of us beings that are here are not originally from here. So what the result is, we've come here for a purpose, for a time. And once we've got that growth, that progress, we will move back up into our place and move on, or either elevate ourselves within our own dimension from which we come. And we can sometimes move on to the next dimension and go up higher until you just keep traveling through the different dimensions. Agartha would be classified as another dimension. Let me explain a basic one. Yeah, on Earth, according to astrology, we've got three main planets that define our external world. That's Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Now, those three planets alone tell you, and if you think about it, why is it continually told we are in the third dimension? We live in a third dimension because we have three dimensions. So if you think about it, all right, so when you talk of a dimension, one of the dimensions is the ghost dimension. That's another dimension. It's another world within our world. Go higher, as you say, the people who come up from Agartha, we have a look at those people as being aliens, entities, whatever you want to call them. They are from yet another dimension. Now they all conglomerate here, and we have basically three dimensions. So those, if you want to look at it on that, you can also call them parallel worlds, as opposed to just a single distinct dimension. They do interact. Yes, they're just another form of life. Ghosts are very real. They're another dimension. I mean, if you think about dreams, what are dreams? We wake up and we had a nightmare, and it was so real. You can be killed. You can die of fright in a nightmare. How can that happen? The Matrix, one of my favorite movies, where Neo first goes into the Matrix, and he came out with blood, and he says, well, how's that possible? He wasn't doing anything in the physical body. Those are other dimensions which he was accessing. The pharaohs were the guys from Agartha. They are those Norse people that came up. They came originally to the end of the first piece of land that you come as you come outside of Agartha, outside of that opening. They took the land there, the red-haired people. There's actually information of this on the internet at the moment. You can go and research that the red-haired people were the start of the pharaohs, which were the Norse. And then they chose to come to Alexandria. They chose to come to Egypt there and set it up on that grid. We earthlings would never know where these nodes are. They know from underneath because they understand the whole system or the source of the system, and they've just decided to cap it on the other side so that there's actually a connection. It's no good putting an arc that's far apart. They've lined it up on top. Again, that's where the as above, so below comes in. They've got the grid underneath on the entire inside of Agartha. They've simply come in with their superior technology, come and seen, all right, that's where it is, and the Great Pyramid stands on the other side of one of their nodes. It comes down, Andy, the bottom line is, are you ready? Have you completed your level of consciousness that you are ready to move to the next level? If you are ready to move to the next level, you will be okay. If you are not and you do it prematurely, you will be killed. So it's a consciousness thing. It's not am I the right being? Am I of the right blood type? Am I of the right family? Am I of the right whatever? It's a consciousness thing. It's not a physical thing. You understand why you're here. You'll realize you don't need to go somewhere else. You've been put here for a reason to learn your journey here. And that is where astrology very nicely will show that relative to your different planets, you can see how to actually access the dimension of Agartha, but not necessarily go there. So astrology is a map to actually tell you, but listen, yeah, you don't, to go and visit Hong Kong, for example, you've got two options. One, you can actually physically go there, or you can actually view it in movie format and learn. You don't have to be there physically to grasp or to learn what the necessary lessons are to learn. So no, you don't need to go there. We'd all, like, when I first heard about Agartha, I wanted to go there. Sure, I did. But as you start learning and studying, you start realizing it's not necessary. And they understand all the dynamics of the technology that we have, everything and beyond. They understand, they are the source of all fables, of all religions, of all technology. Every level of consciousness on this planet comes from them. So if they understand it fully, I mean, how much more do they know? And they understand all of it. Remember, there's the clans, as I said, the different clans, each handling a different aspect. Well, these clans work as a group. They don't work as an individual clan. They network with each other, if you want to call it that. And they understand this inside out. Realize as well that Agartha is not the end. Agartha goes deeper. So they, in turn, are in touch with other dimensions from whom they get information. Because the giants within Agartha don't originate from Agartha. They originate from another dimension much deeper. Earth is a different dimension. When you understand that through, let me give a simple example, through sound and through light, or through a hologram. Light, a hologram, for example, has got 3 different points that it comes together and it produces what looks like a physical dimension. But that's light that's created a physical thing. Now it's the same with the sun. The sun is suspended. I'm trying to think of what movie. There are a few movies where these guys have magnets and in between they manage to have something floating. That's the basic principle. It's nothing fantastic. We think it's fantastic because it doesn't have strings because of our degree of growth in technology. But when you start realizing you can suspend something in mid-air, what they call a frictionless magnet, for example, which is sitting on a pin, but the pin is not touching and it rotates. It's the same principle. When you have a magnetism or we assume that a magnet only has its greatest strength at the beginning, but that's not true. When you apply 2 different forces from a different angle, you can then get a different position where you've got the most intensity. Same as a microwave. A microwave, when you cook with a microwave, it doesn't cook from the surface. It doesn't cook from the very inside. It cooks from 25 millimeters either way. So it depends how you target the elements, how you target those particles, depends on the start point of where the greatest intensity, the greatest mass, the greatest gravity comes. And that's what these guys have done. They've just simply spread it out so it forms a force field. And from that force field going either way is gravity. Bloodlines, another word for saying bloodlines, is your ancestry. Now, on the planet here, we've got more than one type of human alone. We assume that we're all human. We are different beings. We are different species. I'm not just talking of two. We are not just two types of humans. We are we're a number of different types of humans. You'll take your red Indians is one type of human. Your red-haired people from the Nordic regions is another type of human. Your Chinese is another type of human. Your African peoples is another type of human. These are different humans. So when you talk of bloodlines, the bloodlines that they are guarding is the original bloodlines that we're talking of from within Agartha to who are the ruling clans. We've got three major ruling clans that operate and run this planet, who originate from inner Earth. So while we think we're hunting one bloodline, we're not. There's actually three bloodlines. They can read your mind, but that's not the point. They're not here to destroy us, Andy. They're here to help us. Each, depending which lineage you come through, I don't care whether you just got yourself a new kitten, whether you got yourself a new puppy, whether you got yourself a new car. You are going to look after it, even though it's totally different from you, even though it might come through you. It doesn't matter. The point is, we are going to protect what we deem as ours or what we have a vested interest in. So it's not a case of, he's different from me, therefore I'm going to shun him. It's not that. Again, the bottom line, it comes down to consciousness. When you look in astrology through the 7 planets, the highest planet would be Mercury, which is consciousness, intellect. It's all a mental thing. Mental projection versus astral projection is very different from physical projection, for example, on just that level. So when you do mental projection or you're reading somebody's mind, if you can read an aura, which you can actually train your eyes physically to read an aura of another person, it's on that level. It's again relative to what you've trained yourself. If that's what you feel you want to learn in this life, by all means, learn to read people's minds. It's not an impossible thing to do. Anybody can do it if it's your passion. They're not all interested. I mean, we assume that somebody's going to read your mind because he has an interest in controlling you. But it's not always a negative thing like that. We view reading minds as a very negative thing. It's not a negative thing. They do it to help us. They're not there to catch you out. Yes, there are people who've been into Agartha. They're around us all the time. We do not realize that not everybody you see is a human. Although they're in human form, they are not human. Some of them come from there and are living amongst us right now. And we assume they're just amongst the elite. No, they're not. If you go and look at certain suburbs, you'll notice that there's the affluent societies, the affluent neighborhoods have, not all of them, some of them have that power, have that ability, and that's why they will generally conglomerate together, because they have a function to try and help what's going on here on Earth. So they're around us. Andy, none of us actually come from Earth. None of us are what we call human. We think we're human. None of us are human. This is the point of illusion. Illusion is so powerful that it'll make you believe the color blue is the color blue, when in actual fact it's light. It's on some other dimension. None of us on this surface are from here. People are afraid of, we like our safety zone. We like our comfort zone. Andy, but again, it's a consciousness. You're going to teach a child a very basic concept of life, a very basic principle of life, because it's for its consciousness. But as those who move on, and not everybody's on the same wavelength. So what the result is what you're putting out. You're trying to put out to the masses. One story is not good enough for everybody. That's why we have different religions. That's why we have different philosophies. That's why we have different subjects, history, geography, science, math, so forth. It's right for different people. We can't give everybody the same message. It's not going to work. No, I'm not in a hierarchy. I've come here from another place, like the rest of us. I've come here for a lesson to progress myself. Yes, the world around me is part of that interaction to help me grow. But it is not that the world is here to destroy me. The world is here to facilitate my journey of progress on a cognitive or a mental or a conscious level. Very interesting factor is we do not understand why families fight with each other. You need to realize they're different beings from different families, from different clans, from different dimensions. That explains so much why people fight. We're not all from the same, because sometimes you don't understand, how can this be my brother? How can this be my sister? They're so different. They're not your same clan. And the beings that I talk with, there's different ways of being in touch with these guys. You're not always necessarily only going to be in touch with one dimensional or beings from one dimension. You can sometimes be in touch with different beings from different dimensions. And this is what's so wonderful. It's not that we've only got Agartha and it stops there. It goes deeper. So you've got beings from one dimension helping you on one level, beings from another dimension helping you on a totally unrelated subject. They are there also to help you, what we call the guardian angels. They will rock up, and it's not physical beings only. Yes, that happens, but sometimes a voice or something in your head or some feeling will just tell you, don't do this or don't go down there at the moment. That's another form. We always assume that these entities, these beings are going to show up as real, tangible, physical beings like you and me. No, they won't. You don't have to be contacted only through the physical. That is sometimes for those who want to believe, but remember, that's a consciousness level. They are not going to believe because they are not on the level yet to be trained, to be honed, to be guided for a higher upliftment for their journey. They demonize that because it is a power thing, but those who hear voices, you can choose to tell the world or you can choose to keep it quiet. I mean, it's not a power trip to have contact. It's not an ego thing. You need to realize that these guys are contacting you for a purpose for your well-being.